Okay, so I've opened up one of the packages. They do actually supply 3 Allen keys and 2 spanners, so that's a really good start as well. Had a look at the instructions. The first part is to pop the feet into the base, so we'll do that. Put those instructions to one side. There are the feet, and over here, oops, I believe, there we go, so that must be the base. And I'm guessing that, yeah, these aren't actual threads, so they must just push in. So let's have a look and see how those go in. Perhaps a little bit further. Oh, right the way in. So push them hard and they'll go right the way in. Looks like there's a hole possibly for a screw as well, but no instructions on this page for that. And 2 more. Last one. So 4 feet installed. The next item is popping dowels in. Let's see, that must be on this side then. Here, let's move those tools out of the way slightly. So yeah, that's good. Right, dowel bag. Let's, if I can open it up. We have 1, 2, well, let's just empty it all. That's much easier. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a sneaky one there, 6, 4, 5, 6. And then there's a couple of these which I believe normally screw in. They expand. So, oh, they're actually, the hole is actually threaded. I've never come across that before. Normally you end up screwing it into the wood material. I do have a screwdriver to hand here. I'm just going to tighten it up just very slightly. That should be sufficient. Looks like we've got a couple of covers there, and these items will probably fit in the other part of the wood and hook into those. Right, let's see what's next. Indeed, the next part is the back and popping these fixings into the holes there, and then popping the back on here, and then turning these to lock it all in place. So we'll do that in one step. Right, okay, so there we have that. You want to make sure that this gap here is facing downwards so that the shaft can go inside. Got that little hook there. Go down. Okay, now does that go on the outside? Yes, so these have to face the outside. Let's jiggle it around. Fitted on quite well. And then normally, yeah, there's a little arrow there, so if you turn that, there we go. I'm turning it so the arrow is up. Nice and solid. So in the instructions, we've got up to this point here, and the next will be putting these items around the filter vent. Okay, so the next item, actually I've just added the 2 little bungs that went into those sockets. You can't see those at the moment, but so those just pressed in and they're quite nice. The next thing is these 4 corner pieces that are going to go in. These are what they look like. So it looks like they go specifically into a part. And does that go all the way in? Yes. Jiggle it around a little bit either end and then it's fully home. That looks like it probably fits there. There we go. Once you get them going, they go in fine. Excuse my hands being in the way. There we go. It's just getting it started and then they go in quite nicely. And the final one's always going to be the troublesome one when you're trying to do a presentation. There we go, all nicely in. So we've completed step 6, then on to step 7, which is screwing in a plate on the inside. So we'll move to that and I'll get hold of the screws and the plate ready. Now we're on to step number 7. So we're putting this plate on the inside and 4 bolts are coming from the back. So this is the plate which will have the filter, or one of the filters. It looks like it's made of perhaps MDF, but it's black and it's got several inserts extremely nicely milled out. So let me get Allen key, the one that was provided, pop it on there, and I think we're going through that hole, and we're going, I think, into, if you can see the white socket there, which is probably already threaded. So you can see, hopefully, where it's coming out. These cutouts will go directly into these parts sticking out. So let's see how we get on with it. Just doing it very lightly at the moment, hardly finger tight. Going in there. I'll tighten them up just very slightly. As it's going into plastic, you don't want to tighten them up too much anyway. So, and the last one there. Okay, now I think that's plenty tight enough. So don't over tighten them because you will strip the plastic. There we go. And the last one. You can feel just as it starts to get tight, then stop. So there is the plate now mounted inside. Our next step is to mount the plates and the filters. There's a carbon filter and a Hepa filter. Now I've just opened all the items. So Hepa filter, carbon filter, a front and back vent, 8 screws, Allen key supplied, and this. Now I didn't know what this was until I looked at the very end of the instructions. This allows you to add a extractor fan, so basically a computer case fan, onto the outside back. This will fit onto the outside, then you will have your fan, and then you can have, you might be able to use this on top of the fan, or you can use the normal sort of spiral metal grills that stop your fingers getting in on a normal computer fan. So I may well try adding that if I can get a case fan. So we'll have a look at that shortly. Right, let's start. So we'll start with item number 8, which is putting the carbon filter in and the back panel. Okay, so we've got a back panel with a carbon filter. So just put the carbon filter, I don't know whether it goes around any particular way, yeah, possibly one way better than the other. Just tuck it in like that and this will press against it. I've got these short stubby screws, or bolts I should say. There, yeah, I think there is a front and a back possibly. I'll try it this way anyway. And just start screwing them in. And another one here. Just loosely to begin with. There we go. And the fourth one there. Right, let's screw them all away. These don't need to be particularly tight at all. There we go. And the last one. There we go. So that's the inside finished. Let's move on to the back. Okay, for the back, I've just popped in the air filter, the Hepa filter. It is an extremely tight squeeze, so you may have to squeeze the sides just slightly. It's like a cardboard casing, so it does compress. And just make sure it's completely smooth and pushed well home. There's a rubber seal on the back side, and that should always go in first with the tag on the outside here, so you can remove it should you wish to at a later date. So I've got the vent here, and I'm just going to loosely pop in, and let's make sure that the tag is there, ideally not sticking out too much. That's better. Now if your Hepa filter isn't quite flush, then this vent guard will not fit quite properly, because the vent actually fits completely flush. It's a really nice touch having that completely flush, but if the filter isn't quite in, you're not going to have a flush fit. Oops, excuse me. And the final bolt going in, and there we have it. That stage is now done. Our next step, step 10A, deals with the door, and it looks like we're deciding whether it's going to be a left-hand door or a right-hand door, so I'm going to have to think about that. I did keep it on the polystyrene. I've just taken it off now, and there's the door frame. Oh, please note, on all of the plexiglass there is a coating top and bottom. That's why it's looking a bit blue. It does peel off, so we'll be peeling that off shortly. And this is the edge, so you've obviously got a gap between the frame and the door, so that's a little bit of a cutaway there, so we'll dispose of that. And this is the door itself, so you can either have it that way or that way, depending on how you want it to open and close. Okay, so I've decided to go for a right-hand hinged door, so it's going to open this way. These are the one is a catch here, one is a magnet. So this one here will be going on the door like that. This one here, these look like they're MDF actually, yeah, nice, makes a change from plastic. That one I believe will be fitting there. Smooth edge will be the bottom, and this will be the top of the casing. And I've taken 4 screws, 2 for each side, so that we can bolt them on. Before I do that, I'm going to strip off the coating so that we can screw these directly on. Can't do that with the protective coating still on. Once it's off, you need to be careful you don't scratch the plexiglass. And also another tip, if I just grab a knife, sometimes you find once you take the protective coating off, the edges can be a little bit sharp because it's been laser cut. If that's the case, if you find a little burr, just get a utility knife and just go like that. You'll get a tiny little bit of plastic which will be the burr, and that will come off. So you just go like that. But do that once you've taken the protective coating off, because then you can feel if you've really got a burr or not. But just do that on all the straight edges and it'll be lovely. Right, I'll see you once I've taken the film off. Okay, so I've taken the film off. As you can see, it's nice and clear now. I've gone for the right hand side hinges. So what I'm going to do, there's the frame there. I'm actually just going to move the door out of the way for the moment so that we bolt the correct items to the frame. Now let's have a look at the instructions, and we want the right hand, so we want the double block on here, the single block there. So that will just screw as such. Okay. So that will just go through. And the reason is these two here, there will be a magnet catch on the door there, and that will be the closing part. So the hinges will be on the right. The catch will be here and it's magnetic, so that's why it's that way around. And remember to have your smooth side on the bottom. Okay, this has to face this way because this hole here will be going into the side casing by the looks of things. So, excuse my hands if they're in the way. And just slightly tightened up, not too tight. Okay, so that is stage 10 done. Then on to stage 11. Okay, the next step in the build is to attach the left and right sides to the frame. Okay, right, so we have the right hand side which has got the slit in it, and we have the frame here. So you've got teeth and sockets here, and they just, wow, they just slot in. And here we have a hole with the bolt, just a single bolt. There we go. It's as easy as that. That's so easy. Equally, this side, let's just make sure that we put it around the right way. So a smooth part at the bottom, hole there. And you can see I'm almost doing it wrong. So there we go. With the slot at the very bottom there. I was wondering why it wasn't going to fit in. So there we go. All the teeth have engaged nicely. Put a single bolt in just as we did on the other side. I won't do it up too tightly at the moment because they can all be tightened a bit later on. So it's sort of coming together now. That's looking good. And let's see what the next section is going to be. Oh, the lid. So we need to pop that on as well. The lid is here. So the lid, and I'm going to have to stand up for this, my apologies. Again, that is all slotted in. Obviously it has to be fixed, but it just shows you it's extremely well cut that everything slots in. On all of these, after I took the covering off, I did run a blade against the burr side, and you will have a tiny fragment, it's almost like a hair that comes off of it. Don't try and wipe these with a cloth or anything to get them off. Use your fingers or a microfiber cloth, a nice soft microfiber cloth, but do it very carefully because the fibres can actually scratch the plexi. I made that mistake on my TS case for the Mark III. I had lots of fibres and I just wiped them actually with a paper kitchen towel, not a good thing to do, and it scratched the surface. So just be careful when you're taking those fibres off. Right, the next step, so we've got the lid on, which is loose. Oh, the next step is bolting it down, so we'll go for that next. Okay, our next step, as mentioned before, I've got 13 bolts and 13 nuts to put in to join the case together. Now I'm just going to show you one, and I'm actually cheating slightly because I'm using a magnetic screwdriver. It's a case of inserting these nuts in here and then putting the bolt down. Now I'm going to try, because I'm going to stand up as well to do this. It's not easy to get to the hole or slot. You can do it from front or back. I'm just going to try and, whoa, haha. You see, it's not always the way you can do it the first time. So let's try that. It'll be worth it in the end, but I just need to try and get that in. Now that looks like it's going to go in. It is a tight fit. I don't think those are going to fall out. Right, so magnetic screwdriver was handy. And then we have a bolt to go through the top. And the little provided screwdriver, this is where it comes in. These screws bolts are quite small. And if it isn't, if it isn't quite going in, you may need to move it left or right, the nut. But that's going in quite nicely. There we go. Job done. I'm not going to show you every one being done because that would take ages. So I'm going to go around where it says to put them in, and I'll see you shortly. The next section in the manual, section 15, is to add the covers, cable covers, which are these things here. Just slot on and can be opened up as required. So we have one bolt, one nut and a washer. So, and you will need the supplied spanner. So I'm just going to double check, and it looks like the washer is on the outside. So first of all, we have the bolt going through, washer there, and then the nut. So let's just do that up a little bit. And it's a nylock nut. I think I might need, yeah, that's the right span. Right, Allen key. And just do it up. Obviously it's going to engage into the nylon in the nylock. Just want it so that it will move not too much. There we go. Job done, and I'll repeat the same on the other side. Okay, so the next stage is putting the plexiglass onto the base and back. Please excuse the change in sound, my microphone is just broken, just snapped, so hopefully the sound is okay and you can hear me. I'm going to lift the perspex onto here. Hidden within the filament holder bag, this little bag here, are some little pieces of perspex, and they act as spacers, so when the plexiglass case goes over the edges of the wooden base, it will be at the correct level. So I'm just going to stand up and lift the casing on. Here we go. Let's try and get it over the back as well at the same time. Oh, that's gone pretty well actually. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now there's a large number of these bolts that all have to go in all the way around. So I'm just going to pop one in there and I'll do the rest. I'll just do them fairly loose and then I'll tighten them up afterwards. But we do have to possibly make some adjustment on the height of the case, so there has to be a little bit of play because you can see a little bit of movement there for when we put the door in, just to make sure that the gap is correct. Right, I'll carry on with these bolts and we'll be back shortly. Okay, we're near the end now. Next thing is to put the door on. So we've got a couple of hinges go in just like that, and some nuts. I'm just going to try and grab those on loosely if I can, just by my fingers initially. And yep, that's on. So I'll do the others now. So just got 4 nuts to pop on, and spanner. Do not over tighten anything, because if you do, potentially you could risk breaking the perspex if it's too tight. That's good. So just to make a slight adjustment to the door, I undid all of the nuts on the back of the hinges and pushed the door up, and while I was doing that, tightened all of the nuts again, just it's a fraction of a millimetre, and there's now more clearance, you can actually see. So that's good. Door swings nicely open all the way, so you've got great access to the printer. And you've got a magnetic catch there, so really nice. Okay, so the next, well, we're almost at the end to be honest. The next part, and perhaps the final part, is just making the filament rollers. So we'll do that next. Now, one of the final items is to make the filament holder that is supplied. So these are the sections. I've taken all the wrapping off either side. There's one which will go either side. So let's start with a bolt. piece of plastic washer there, bearing, another piece of plastic, and a nut on the end. Whoops. So these are nylock nuts, and can do the same at the other end. Piece of plastic going through, bearing slots on that, another piece of plastic there, another sort of like a washer, and then we go through. So I need to do those up. Let's see if, there we go. And what size Allen key? Obviously the last one that I pick up. And let's do that up, but not so that it's too tight, just so that it's tight enough. That's pretty good. And let's do the same with that one. Right, that's not moving around. And you've got a little base here, and they just basically snap on. So there we go, one snapped on, and the second one. There we go, job done. So I'll do the other one, and then we'll see what state we're at. So I just thought I'd show you the feed for the mains, which is coming in the left hand side of the box. The printer is in there, and I'll show you a better picture of the printer in a second. But it's just this flap here, which can take multiple cables, and it just slides so that it keeps the heat in. Okay, so the printer is in, the filament here with the new filament holder can feed through nice and easy, or the other recommended way. Notice these are two separate holders so they can cope with different sized filament. So that is the alternative, and it's pulling through there, which would work quite nicely as well. You can even overhang it a little bit there. So those are the two recommended methods. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that you could add an extractor fan, so I'll just quickly show you what that is like. Let's just very quickly take these screws off. If you're primarily having this enclosure for perhaps keeping the smell out, but you're not too worried about heat, then this could be quite useful to have a fan going. So this is the extra plate that will fit there. Will fit there. This is a fan there I've just got. Alright, it's not wired, but you can do that later on. So, back plate, fan, and I'll make sure it's pointing the correct way, this way. And you can either use one of those metal grills that normally comes with one of these fans, or you could even perhaps put that plate back on, which is just what I'm going to do for our purpose. Now, in the kit I supplied the extra long bolts, so although you don't get the fan, you choose whichever fan you want. I would recommend a high pressure fan though, because otherwise it's not going to have enough power to suck the air through that paper filter. Noctua do a very good one, which is their Industrial 3000 range. I've used those before and they work extremely well. And with the Noctua you can actually get a separate speed control device. It is a 12 volt fan, so if it's a bit noisy you can just turn it down. So let's have a look. And as you can see, it's very quick and easy. It's really nice of them to put these extra long bolts in. Here you go. An enclosure with an extractor fan, so you can control the cooling, etc. So that concludes the fan installation. I'll leave that there for the moment. So that's the enclosure completed. I have to give full disclosure, Tukkari have actually provided this to me. I did purchase my original TS case for the Mark III, so I paid for that. They did supply this so that I could give my opinion to see whether I thought it was good enough or not. To be honest, I think it's extremely good. I wish I'd gone for one of these TLX cases for the Mark III. I'm sure if I'd have had that I would have been just as impressed. The quality is really, really nice, excellent finish, easy to put together, good product. Like the extra cable feed, so you can put perhaps Raspberry Pis, etc. And webcam cables all through there, perhaps even add lighting, which I have done on my TS case. So overall, whether or not this was supplied to me, I would definitely go for this. I haven't seen many cases, or hardly any at all, for a Mini, so having the slot here is fantastic for the feeds. I may even look at like one or two alternatives for improvements that may allow the spool to go inside. So if you're interested in that idea, please like and subscribe, and I will share my designs for free with those people that are subscribing. I think, yeah, overall I'm really happy with the case. Love the colour. I'm really glad I went for the orange. It does everything you want an enclosure to do. Easy access. It will retain the heat, especially being thick perspex plexiglass, and it'll keep it dust free, pet free if you have problems with cats, and hopefully child free to a certain extent. The addition of the filters and the extraction facility is even better, so you only have to go and buy a fan and wire that in to complete that. But I would definitely recommend this product if you're in the market for a enclosure for a Mini, or even perhaps another small printer that may well suit. So there you go, that's my review. And please like and subscribe, and I'll leave a link to Tukkari's website in the details below. They do have quite a big range of enclosures, all very good quality, so please take a look there. Thank you very much.